third co-founder who could not get VirBELA to work, but her name is Dr. Mandë Holford, and she is a marine biochemist who studies these venomous marine snails. And I know at least a couple of you are from Australia, so you probably have heard of these, but many people have never heard of these killer snails that are so deadly they can kill a 200-pound person in under 5 minutes. But scientists like our co-founder, Mandë Holford, have been studying these snails and analyzing the peptides to create therapeutic drugs for humans. And some of those are already on the market. A drug called Prialt is derived from cone snail venom. And and she's working on one that is showing promise treating liver cancer. And it was out of her work that we first got the inspiration to create killer snails to inspire another generation of people to be interested in this kind of science.
I'm just going to try to advance to the next slide. So BioDive was the first multimodal educational experience that killer snails made. Prior to that, they made different tabletop games and board games, but this was the first experience that has 3 parts. The first part, and most relevant to this conference, is the VR experience. So students actually get to put themselves in the shoes of a scientist and travel around underwater, seeing how these killer snails hunt, what kinds of ecosystems they live in, how to use tools like a scientist would to measure biotic and abiotic factors in the environment. Then we also use a digital science journal, which is a web-based platform where students can record their observations. They have sort of a more scaffolded experience, and there's time for them to answer questions and do some reflection about things that they've seen in the VR world. We really wanted to use the affordances of each platform so that students can get the most out of this kind of experience. And then the third part of BioDive is actually a teacher-facing part of the tool. It's the assessment dashboard. So a lot of the times when teachers are thinking about whether they want to use VR in the classroom, they're concerned about, how can I know what my students are doing? How can I know that everybody's on task? And the assessment dashboard lets them see at a glance, what has everybody completed? Have they done the VR? What answers have they actually given in the digital science journal? And try to even respond back to students so they can leave stickers, they can leave comments, and actually have some interaction back and forth with the students. BioDive is conceived as sort of a 5-day lesson, so there are iterations and each lesson builds on each other.
And when we were developing this, we used a design framework where we did a lot of piloting with each individual section before we rolled it out officially. We piloted with 836 students in the New York and New Jersey area before conducting a national pilot with 47 schools in 26 states. And we deliberately designed this for, hold on, I'm just gonna mute you, Chris, because we can kind of all hear you. We designed this for students to use Google Cardboard because we wanted it to be as accessible as possible. And since the pandemic, we've also rolled out a web VR-based version so that students who don't have access to Google Cardboards or cell phones at home can still take part in the full experience.
Another thing to mention is that the BioDive content is aligned with the NGSS standards that are becoming more and more widely used in the US. In our pilot study, we saw some really promising gains in students' content knowledge in areas that are related to those NGSS standards. So we're looking forward to continuing development of BioDive and other experiences that touch on other content areas that are difficult to teach using sort of traditional tools.
And also, again, just to highlight, in the educator dashboard, not only do the teachers see the qualitative and the quantitative responses, but they also see all of the students' interactions in VR, the exact objects that they selected, as well as how long they spent in the VR and how long they spent looking at different specific items, because we wanted to be sure that teachers had a way of knowing, where their students were and what they were doing so that they could appropriately scaffold the instruction. And if you would like to know more, then we have the video that folks can also check out. I believe in our instructions, we were told to keep this to about 5 minutes, so we tried to do that. But we are happy to go into more detail if there is time.
Looks like in the chat, some people are having difficulty seeing the slides. Mina, do you have any insight into what might be going on there?
You know, it might be better to start the slides on your screen and just share your screen. That might make it easy so people do you see what I'm saying? Like use the share your screen method.
Erica is asking if the application has been evaluated. We've gone through some formative evaluation stages and done a preliminary pilot that was, I think, in 26 states. So we have some preliminary results, but we don't have a final formal evaluation on BioDive yet. We are in the process of making those results available.
Yeah, we are very excited about publishing those, and so we're in that. We're in the process of that. And oh, I should also say, which I neglected, but this was BioDive was funded by the National Science Foundation. It is cardboard compatible. We developed it. Oh, and the other thing we did with this is that we assumed that classrooms would not have a phone for every student. So we designed this so that it could be done with one phone for every approximately 4 students. And we built into the Digital Science Journal these dive deeper sections where students who were waiting on a Google Cardboard with a phone could play games, read relevant articles, and see other videos that were relevant but not required, so that way any student who moved quick, who was waiting, had something else to do. Now that we have we figured out the second slide thing yet? But yeah, so that now, trying to, does that do anything?
I think continue your thought, Jessica.
Okay, so yeah, we designed it so that way students who were sharing phones would still have other activities. And now that we've made it available through WebVR, there's not necessarily a wait time, although we still think, without any direct evidence, but we still feel like the immersive quality is better if you can use a Google Cardboard than the WebVR.
Jessica, do you want to talk about any of the responses that teachers and students were able to give us during the testing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were delighted to have overwhelmingly positive feedback from both teachers and students in terms of their enjoyment, in terms of the wanting to participate again. Oh, I'm hearing echoes of myself now. But the teachers, 100% of the teachers who used this in the pilot said that they would be interested in continuing to use it in the future as a paid version. And the students felt the same. One interesting piece of feedback that we heard was that teachers said that they liked the collaborative aspects. There were not very many collaborative aspects that we built into this. Really, when students are going through this, they're in the role of a marine biochemist. And so they're using their digital science journal to develop their hypotheses, to build models, to build models and to answer questions and respond. But they hardly have a chance to work together. And so when we were going on to build our next product, we really focused on the on a more collaborative aspect. But in this, there is one place where the players pick one of 3 different locations to visit, and they see different abiotic changes that impact biotic changes. And so students are asked to to create a model of what they think they're going to see based off of the numbers that they gather in the VR. And then they go into virtual reality to test to see if that is actually what they see. And then when they come back, they revise it. And then they do work with partners who went to one of the other 3 locations to identify patterns of how these abiotic factors impact the biotic factors.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's really, yes, interesting. We can actually take one more question if anyone has that. And especially if your sound is going, if your sound has gone, just press, I have done it nods, muted it accidentally, so it will come back. Yes. Any more questions do we have for Jessica?
And if you can, we would love for you to test it out. It is currently available for free, and we'd love your thoughts and to hear any other feedback that you have.
Wow, that would be great. And do we have that website address where it is, your app is being hosted? I think you have given somewhere.
Yeah, let me put it.
Put it
there.
In the public chat possibly. Yeah. Everyone can have that and see that how it works and what kind of benefit one can get out of it.
In terms of the data that's captured in the assessment, Corinne, do you want to speak to that?
Develop, do we have any?
Sure. So in terms of the, like what's captured in the teacher assessment dashboard, or in terms of the study that we did about students' learning outcomes?
I mean,
Victoria?
In the teacher assessment dashboard.
Sure. So the teachers see all of the responses that students gave. There are sort of different types of questions and different tasks that students are asked to do in the digital science journal. And so teachers can see all of that. So some things are short answer questions. Some of them are longer, free response type things. Some of them are like building a model. So using stickers of animals and plants that would be in an ecosystem and showing the connections between them. And so for items that are sort of correct or incorrect, sorry, I'm getting a terrible echo. The platform can summarize that for the teachers automatically. And then within the VR experience, teachers can see whether or not students have done it and engaged with anything, how long they spent there. And for some of the VR experiences, there are sort of accomplishments to finish. So they need to see 3 types of prey that the killer snails actually eat. So the teachers can see whether or not they've done that.
Okay.
Sounds great.
It is indeed. Now we are almost on time. Now, thank you very much, Jessica. It was a very nice presentation. And we all can press function F4 for the wonderful and beautiful presentation Jessica and her. Oh wow, okay. Well, I'm trying to. I'm still.
Sorry. That's how I like to end things.
No, I'm still trying to. Okay, I can do this. Let me. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you all.
It is. All right. So our next presentation is about is anyone? I love it, but we are having so much of yes, indeed. I'm also loving it. So much of fun. I'm not sure why I'm getting my voice is both, but I'll keep talking. Doesn't matter. Okay. So our second presentation is about an AR-based case study of using textual and collaborative scaffolding for students with different self-efficacy to learn liver principle. And may I invite Changhao Liu and Shuo Wu, Shuming Wu, Su Kai to give their present. Oh, wow, okay. I can see Changhao Liu coming in. Hello, Chang.
Hello, madam. Can you hear me?
And there we go. Okay, all right. Great. Now, okay. So I'll hand it over to you and to start with your presentation. All right, welcome.
Hi everyone. I'm Changhao
Yeah, it is
Liu.
all yours now.
Hello?
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Changhao Liu from Beijing Normal University in China. So glad to share our research for augmented reality and education with all of you. Our research title is an AR-based case study of using textual and collaborative scaffolding for students with different self-efficacy to learn level principle. We have a development of an AR-based mobile application for students in elementary school in China. Our intention is to help students to get basic conceptions about level principle with AR learning activities in the classroom. And combined with the scaffolding instruction strategy, we explored the impact of AR on students with different self-efficacy in two aspects of learning science and cognitive load. The results show that the use of texture and collaborative scaffolding in AR teaching is conducive for personalized teaching, which helps students with lower self-efficacy to pay attention to the conception of deep learning and effectively reduce the cognitive load of students. So we conclude that in order to help students with lower self-efficacy in AR learning, teachers should provide effective scaffolding because students with lower self-efficacy can be helped to better understand, learn through appropriate text and collaboration, which has a very positive significance for the design of AR teaching process. It provides reference for the personalized AR teaching. The scaffolding used in this paper is just one of many teaching scaffoldings that we are going to optimize design of scaffolding in AR teaching in the future study. In order to make the conclusion of this study more convincing, it is necessary to increase the number of subjects in order to in the future studies, we can consider expanding the scope of subjects. Same time, we can collect some qualitative data in other ways to obtain more reliable research conclusions based on the real feedback of teachers and students. If you want to know more, I have a video on the schedule website, lasts about 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Is that... Hello, Chang. Have you finished your presentation?
Yeah, I have finished it.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Chang, can you please add the video link on the chat space, please?
Okay. Can we have that?
See the link.
Okay, there's a question coming in from Jessica. Can you please tell us a bit more about what the students were doing and how you were measuring the scaffolding? Thanks.
Okay, there are two classes in this study. One class is students study with textual and collaborative scaffolding and AR, and the other is teacher traditional teach for AR. So the two aspects are taught in the same time. And we measure the learning results through different measures about cognitive load and science learning conception.
But how you were measuring the scaffolding?
By questionnaire. The students fill out the questionnaire by themselves.
I'll come earlier to you.
Okay, so it was you were sending the questionnaire to the students, but what variables were you trying to, how you are comparing?
Yeah, we're comparing by quantitative by a two-way encoder, and by to analyze the data.
Okay. And also, I have a question from Zifeng Liu. What is the traditional way with respect to AR?
Oh, okay. The traditional way with respect to AR is students learning by AR according to the operating steps of teachers, but without any texture, task list, and collaboration. So this is the traditional way, and the other way is students learning an AR without teachers, without operating steps of teachers.
Okay, there is another question coming from Zifeng, and when you select tablets as most suitable, what were the suitability criteria? Has research on, for example, wearable been considered too?
Okay. School in China, students there are many students in classroom in China because of the population. The tablets are common learning equipment in most Chinese schools. So it is it is feasible in the implementation of AR teaching. Wearable devices are indeed better display AR device, but it is may not suitable in the class. So if students wear something like glasses, they cannot see the teacher. So maybe the order in the classroom are not very good.
Okay, so any more questions? Do we have any more questions from the audience? No? All right, thank you very much, Changhao Liu, for your presentation.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, everyone.
Please have a seat. Everyone can press F4, function F4 to cheer him up. There you go. Thank you. All right, guys, we are almost on to our last presentation, and it is about, oh, okay. It is Erica's, and it is regulation of learning in virtual reality with secondary school science students. And this presentation is from Erica Southgate from School of Education, University of Newcastle. Welcome, Erica, and I invite you to start giving your presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I can't operate the slides or make them scroll. Is my slide available to you?
I think they can see your slides. I'm putting.
I can advance it down. I'm fine with that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Got 5 minutes, so I'm not sure if I can do this justice, but I'll have a go right now. Very little is known about how students interact in virtual reality, particularly immersive, highly immersive virtual reality. So the kind of high-end VR that I'm interested in. And sandbox applications, or applications where students don't need to code to create, but they can go and do creative things. So examples of sandbox applications would be Minecraft VR or Tilt Brush, for instance. For a few years now, I've been conducting research in schools in Australia, and we've been looking at using sandbox applications to bring together science and creativity with other disciplines. I've conducted a study in 2 junior high schools most recently and published the results in the book, which I've put the link to in the chat. So I'm talking about results from a study where we had 48 participants, roughly 21 females, 27 males from year 9, which means that they're 13 to 15-year-old. And in this project, students had to work in small groups to research and build a model of the body, a model of a body organ in Minecraft VR. This was a task that was integrated into a unit of work on biology. And it was, they also had to do labs and online learning and had direct instruction. So it was only one part of a unit of work. Students worked in groups of 3 to research and build their model of a body, and they had to take the researcher, a teacher or a peer on a guided tour of it and explain what they'd learned about that particular body organ. And in order to understand what they would do in VR, we recorded their screen capture. So gamers are used to this. You can press the window function key, I think, and it videos what's on the screen. You can see it from a first-person view, what the learner's doing. We ended up getting 21 hours of video across all groups, and then we coded that particular video for learning behaviour using validated frameworks around cognition, metacognition and regulation of behaviour. We also coded it inductively to find out what was going on, and we found that when we coded the video, 13% of the time there was technical difficulties which prevented learning. When we coded it for different types of behaviour in VR, and we're talking about not only verbalised interactions but non-verbal interactions or doing, we found that we coded for both regulatory types, so the types of behaviour that were directed towards task execution, goal setting, monitoring and evaluation, planning and strategy use, but also regulatory processes. And this is the type of processes where learners will regulate themselves towards the learning task or stay on task, or they'll regulate one another, either by telling one another what to do or by co-regulation, which is like a collaboration. So we coded the video for this, and we ended up with over 2,000 pieces of coded video. So it's quite a large exercise in analysis. And you can see from the tables that I have in the slide. Did that come up? Yes. That students were on task without teacher supervision in these virtual environments, in the virtual world of Minecraft. They were on task about 65% of the time. Sorry, I've got a strange Darth Vader noise in the background. On task around 65% of the time, but there was great variability in this. So some students were on task, over 97% of the time, while other students were not on task very much at all. In fact, we had a group of boys called the Lava Boys who just like to build things and burn them down. When we looked at the types of regulation that students did in their groups, we found that there was quite a lot higher degree of self-regulation of behaviour, in other words, regulating themselves to be on task, but also socially shared regulation, which is collaboration. So very high levels of collaborative behaviour in Minecraft VR when they were on task, and much less co-regulation of behaviour or telling each other what to do. So it was actually true regulation rather than directing others. Now, while the data's not perfect, and I can talk about that after the presentation, it does provide, and it's not representative, it does provide a window into the way this sort of sandbox applications can develop collaboration and communication skills with the students. And we know that students who have well-developed regulatory behaviours are ones that have better achievement, and are more likely to be able to use that for in other subject areas and learning tasks, and take that with them for lifelong learning. So thank you very much. Are there any questions? Anything people didn't get? Was conducted in Minecraft VR with Oculus Rifts at this stage. We conducted the first research to really embed high-end VR into actual school classrooms with actual kids and teachers to find out what happened. The book we've published is on that, and results from that, and provides case studies on that. And by embedding it in actual classrooms and looking at kind of how natural learning behaviour unfolds with the technology, we kind of gleaned lots of insights into how it could work best in schools.
Right, and also do the students pick the body part that interests them most, or are they assigned?
Sorry, could you type that question, please, because I didn't hear that.
Yes, it is in the public. Can look, from Victoria?
Sorry, Mina, I can't hear you. You're breaking up.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
No. You could type the question. Quite a high cognitive load presenting in this way, I have to say, without for me to reference my slides and my data. But anyway.
Okay. Can you hear me, Sophia, now?
No, I can't. Sorry, Mina. But I have got a question. Do you have a video? No, I don't have a video on this. I do have a PDF with a summary of the findings. And I do have a website that I've popped in there, which has lots of information about, and free papers actually, about the study. So if you don't want to buy the book, you can go to the website and find the free papers. Monica's asked a question about what most interests me about student learning in VR. I think everything interests me. How do we bring together the affordances, the learning affordances of virtual environments and leverage these through teachers' signature pedagogies? So I'm very interested in the pedagogical aspects, not just the learning science, but how teachers can actually use it effectively given what they know about pedagogy. And I think it's very important that we engage with educators and their pedagogical knowledge around the technology. And I'm also very interested in how learning behaviours naturally unfold in these environments, particularly when we're asking students to do higher order thinking and creativity.
Erica, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do the students pick their own body parts of interest, or do you assign them? Because I see in your table there's lots of eyes, for instance, like eye 1 through 6.
Yep. So the way this was part of a unit of work, which most biology teachers would be familiar with around the human body. The students had to do online learning and labs and direct instruction, and part of the lab one of the labs was to dissect an eye. So that influenced a lot of students to actually recreate the eye in VR. But they were very interesting recreations. In one group of students actually created a giant hovering eye which you toured with a roller coaster. And you could interact with, and it had the information in it. And so the eye was popular. Another set of students decided that they wanted to look at the human heart. And so you could tour the internal part of the human heart in the same direction that blood flows. And there was whole lots of fun facts in the heart. So it was up to the student what they did. Some students did choose the eye, but many other students chose different types of body organs. But autonomy in learning is really important. And I think when we can scaffold autonomy and self-direction, that's when we'll actually get a learning gain.
I must admit, the idea of a body roller coaster is really great.
It was highly nauseous. It was nauseating. And in fact, we put the principal in there and he just couldn't cope at all. It was too much. But it was a fantastic way to take people on a tour of their body organ, explain what they'd learned about the human body. And they could do that from memory in immersive VR. So they actually knew the content deeply, could narrate it from memory and make it a fun and interactive experience as well. And I think that we need to bring creativity back into science. It's unfortunate that it's been divorced from high school science and elementary school science for too long.
There are so many questions from Sharmini Gopinathan, and if you can have a look in the chat box, it says, do you think you will be able to work on this with the students in the schools in Malaysia? And we could collaborate and bring this to the students who have more interest in STEM education, as it's dwindling in numbers in the last couple of years. Indeed, it is.
So I work in low-income school communities generally, not always, but generally low-income school communities. The students in these communities are very spirited students. They're very interested in a whole lot of things, but sometimes science and maths isn't one of those things. So I think engagement is an issue. We can use the technology for engagement, but it has to be more than around motivation and engagement. There has to be deep learning that occurs, and we need to actually research this very closely. And we have to understand that how we can use particular types of virtual environments to leverage deeper learning. And by deeper learning, I mean higher order thinking, creativity, deep communication and collaboration, and being able to present your work to an authentic audience because you have to know stuff well to be able to do that. And I think if we can take the best of learning science and pedagogical theory and combine it with understanding how to leverage the affordances of virtual environments, that would in fact be a good way to go to increase its use in STEM, but also in other subject areas. I've used this for drama teaching. We've used research drama teaching using virtual reality and very highly complex issues around set design, directorial vision, for instance. So it's not just for STEM, I suppose. That's what I'd like to emphasise.
You know, I'm sure that everybody is, there are so many, questions coming up, and it was a great presentation. Do we have any more? I like that, okay. Let me see if I can do this.
Thank you. That's a very interesting experience, and so much. I've just put the link to my book down here again, or you can go for free papers to the website VR School Research. Thank you.
Okay, that was really very interesting. Also, guys, I'm just putting one, it is one link on public chat. It is about the feedback. So if you would like to fill that in for this particular session, it would be great. Thank you very much for attending and participating. And, it was such an awesome session listening to all the presenters. And I'm sure that we're going to learn so much, so much, and there's so much to take away from you. Thanks. Any questions you have for me, or we are all good? We are just ahead, 15 minutes more to go actually. Do you have any more questions you want to ask me or the presenters? Okay, so in that case, we finish the presentation and we go here, and everyone is free to dance. Let's say. And when you get time, just fill that survey, feedback survey, it would be great. All right, guys. I'm gonna go to exhibit 4, where all my posters are being presented. So goodbye.
Brett, how are you?
Hey, Erica. Yeah, I'm